are. So yeah, thank you for joining everybody. Taking time out of your afternoon to join the Visory webinar here. We have an interesting topic here, continuation on regarding cybersecurity. So your firm's biggest cybersecurity risk, you, right? Say it plainly. What you guys need to know and how a cyber attack could strike out your firm is what we're going to be looking at today. Um, so on the Visory team side, unfortunately, our partner Mandy could not join us today. She's a channel account manager for Visory. I work with Mandy as an inside sales account manager, so I'll be stepping in here today to do intros and set the stage here for our speakers. Um, Batting first will be Sam Schumacher. He's our Senior Director of Solution Consulting, and prior to that was the Director of Product here at Visory. And he is actually joining us on his way back from the PAX 8 Cybersecurity Conference. And then Coach Dawn Brolin, our favorite guest, our designated motivator. Thank you as always for joining. It's so great to have you back with us. And you're coming back from the Intuit Tax Council as well. So a lot of travel. Thank you both for making the time to be here. Dawn, you're up to bat here.
I'm up to bat. I love it. I love being in that position of bases loaded and I'm up to bat. There's 2 outs in the seventh, and I get to get up there and just rip a shot to left center. That's my goal at all times. So, yes, very excited to be here. Of course, Nick, thank you so much for the introduction. Here with Sam. Sam and I are going to rip this apart and just kind of hopefully scare you a little bit, to be honest. I find for myself that when I am in a pressure situation, it's time to step up. And certainly when it comes to security, it is time to step up, folks, because it's moving faster than it ever has, and it was not going to ever slow down. So we got to stay on top of things. So what are we going to talk about today, Sam? Here we are, right? We're going to talk about why we are a prime target. Should be pretty easy to understand that. We're going to dive into that. We'll talk a little bit about a wake-up call that I experienced over the last month and a half or so that was really a little shocking and really definitely scared me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and go through the little bit of trauma that I had for about, it was maybe an hour or two as I was freaking out. Cybersecurity reality check. Like, we're going to just talk about, like, let's just make this real, you guys. Like, we've got to understand that we are a target and that if we don't be proactive about this, we're going to end up being reactive and we're not going to be happy about it, I can tell you. We're going to kind of talk about some of those situations that could happen to you. We'll talk a little bit about the compliance. Now, the IRS is like on top of it, Tax Security 2.0. We're going to just talk about how the IRS and how they're setting expectations for us, which I love that. Hey, you tell me what I'm supposed to do because I don't know otherwise. So how are we going to kind of work through that? Now, listen, folks, and if you know me, you know I am the designated motivator, but I don't take any crap from anybody. No excuses. This is a no excuse cybersecurity game plan that we're going to hand you. We're going to say, hey, folks, listen, this is the way it's got to be done in order for you to protect yourself and for others to be protected, meaning your clients, right? So we need to make sure we're doing that. And then we'll talk about cybersecurity into a business advantage. How is it going to help you separate yourself from the other practitioners that are out there? Well, I've talked to a lot of people. There's still a lot of people out there who are not doing even just the minimum of how to protect themselves from cybersecurity. But can you set yourself apart? And I believe the answer is yes. So we're going to talk through that. So let's just get right and started here. Let's just start talking about why hackers love accountants. They love accountants more than banks. They love accountants more than physicians. They love accountants more than attorneys. We are number one target for cybersecurity. And why is that? Because we hold the key to the financial data, right? We just do. And 60% of small businesses close within 6 months of a cybersecurity attack. Now, I will tell you, I own a small business. I am not a multi-million-dollar publicly traded company. I still have the same responsibilities when it comes to security as they do. But I'll tell you what, they get a cybersecurity attack, like Wells Fargo, I'm just going to use it as an example, was many years ago, Wells Fargo was compromised. Have you seen Wells Fargo buildings go away? Is there still a Wells Fargo? Yes. But for powerful accounting, I get some kind of a breach like that. See ya, sayonara, bye-bye. Because I couldn't possibly financially recover from something like that. You as a professional, it doesn't matter if you're a tax professional or a bookkeeper or a CAS type of business, or it doesn't even matter. What it, all of you have information that is critical about your small businesses. What does that data look like, Sam, right? We're looking at bank statements. We're looking at tax ID numbers. We're looking at dates of birth. We're looking at adjusted gross income if you're a tax person. We have all of that information that they want so desperately. Why? They can get it from you pretty cheap, especially if you're not protecting yourself, and they can sell it for a pretty penny. I'm just not willing to do that. So we think about, your clients who trust you with their personal identifiable information, like the tax records, W-2s, so that if they're ever having to like maybe log into a bank account and they're asking for certain information, if they get let's just use Bank of America as a great example. I have credit card numbers and all that kind of stuff for my clients. If I need to log into their bank account and I can't get in, I hit forgot password. I just got to fill in the credit card information. I have everything I need to get into their accounts. And that's the stuff they're going to steal from you. And they're going to take that and they're going to run with it. And we know, of course, weak links in security. So you're somebody who, just memorizes your passwords on your computer, but your computer is not protected in any way. And you just, yeah, I don't care. I don't want it to remember it. I'm not going to turn on 2FA because that's a pain in the neck. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But those are the types of things that we're doing. And those small businesses are putting their trust in you as a professional, those are the ones that are most at risk. Sam, are you with me or what?
Yeah, and I think that it's really important, especially right now, to think about AI and how AI plays a role in all of this. There's a lot of focus right now on how AI is empowering efficiency and automation and all of the really crazy cool stuff that can empower our businesses. But remember that the bad guys have access to this too. They're using it to get even more reach with their attempts. You've got ransomware as a service, malware as a service. The bad guys don't have to know how to code anymore. AI does it for them. So those attacks are coming more frequently, they're getting more sophisticated, and it is critical now more than ever that you not only protect your firm, but you start having those conversations with your clients because they have small businesses too. And that's where our focus is going to start to pivot. So if you're not doing all of the things that Dawn and I are going to talk with you about today for your own firm, it's time to get it together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that what you're saying about the fact that, listen, these small businesses, if we're not helping them understand the problem, because a lot of times, honestly, Sam, as you very well know, they are the problem. And
Yep.
so just as much as we may be the problem, they are as well. Where, I had someone, this is a really great example. I had someone today email me. It's a technology solution that I'm doing some work with. And they said, hey, can you send over your bank information? I was like, no. And so I replied back and I go, okay, for real? Like, you want me to email you my bank information? And I said, I absolutely do. Where's your secure way for me to get you that information, etc.? And they were like, oh, can you send it in a password protected PDF? I'm like, no, I can't send it in a password protected PDF. I'm just like, and I kind of giggled to myself, Sam, because I knew we were going to be talking about this today. And I'm like, people are still asking for that. And you know what, Sam? People are still sending it.
Dude, no, you're absolutely right. In fact, my county government, I needed a thing. They asked me to send them a copy of my driver's license, my birth certificate, and like some other crazy document. And I was like, wait a minute, you want me to do what now and how? I said, is there a secure portal? Is there like an up there? Like, no, 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 just shoot it over in this email thread and we'll take it from there. But absolutely not. I'll see you downtown. Like I'm not sending this to you.
Yeah, I'll come in and we'll talk in person, but no.
Yep.
And it's just that's the kind of stuff that we as accountants need to, and again, that very simple example of what happened in this one email this morning, it would have been really easy for me to say to myself, and small businesses, I want to get paid, right? Easy for me to just go bang, send it off, routing an account number,
Right.
awesome, I want to get paid. That's where we all and having those conversations with clients because they don't understand that at all. They're a small business. They need to get paid. They're going to rip off that routing and account number. And next thing you know, the entire bank account has been wiped out. And that's how serious it can get, right? So we know these are threats. These are things that are happening every day, whether it be a text message or an email. I know Tracy on my team has gotten emails that are from me that say, "Hey,
Hmm.
go buy
Hmm.
me." It's funny because we talk about it, and we'll talk about training because we do a lot of training at Powerful Accounting. Visory is really good at trying to send us emails to tell us to click on things that we're not supposed to, and if we do it, we get in trouble. So that's a really good thing. But that's because the education. But Tracy she got an email and I can't remember what it was, and she's like, I just don't even ask you anymore because I know it's garbage. But she's like, yeah, somebody asked, hey, go buy me, can you go get me 10, $50 certificates for Starbucks so I can give them out to clients? Like, that's how creative they are. And Tracy's like, I know you're not handing out $50 Starbucks gift cards. Like, we
It's a
just,
lot of coffee.
it's a lot of coffee, and she lives in Florida. So if she's going to go buy these gift cards, how is she going to get them to me? She's going to mail
Right.
them to me? Come on. And that's where we just got to start being a little smarter. But how big is the threat, Sam? How big really is it?
Yeah, this year. So, I mean, these numbers, I'm going to give you some crazy numbers, Don, and it's going to feel like there's no way that this can possibly impact small businesses. So, before I tell you what the estimated cost to the world is going to be this year and 2 years from now, think about your clients and remember that the average ransomware, the average breach, initial financial cost, there's long-term financial costs that we can talk about, but that initial ransomware is probably going to be between $40 and $60,000. And that feels like a big number for a small business, but I'm going to put it now into global context. This year, ransomware is estimated to cost the world, or cybercrime in general, $10.5 trillion. In 2027, 2 years from now, $23 trillion is the estimated financial impact of cybercrime. It's the third largest economy in the world behind the US and China.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
And think about, Sam, where larger companies, larger firms, larger organizations that have, specifically cybersecurity departments that are
Hmm.
mitigating threats and mitigating things that are happening. What in the heck are us little guys going to do? Right. And I think that's what you and I will focus on today is for those people who are like, I got to protect myself. You don't want to be part of that $1 trillion.
You don't want to be part of the $1 trillion, and that's where partnerships become really powerful for you. Whether you're partnering with Visory or you're partnering with some other industry expert that's out there, it's critical to partner because you don't have the time, frankly, to build a cybersecurity practice inside of your firm. You
Right.
have you have other business driving value to bring to your clients than figuring out how to respond to an alert from a threat hunting agent on your staff's PCs. So that's what we'll talk about.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think this is a really good part I'm going to tell a little bit of a story for people because I had a situation that happened, and I'm going to say it because I think is really tells a big tale about how a company like Ignition, I use Ignition for all of my engagement letters and all of my payments and stuff like that. And I got an email from Ignition and it said, "Hey, we have stopped your disbursements because we believe that your account has been compromised." And I was like, "What?" Like, first of all, stopping my payments? I'm like, "No, don't do that." That was number one. But then I'm like, "Oh my goodness, somebody got into my Ignition account." And I'm like, "How is that possible?" Like, I feel like I'm someone who really pays attention to security, and I use Visory, and I'm in the environment whether I'm on a desktop product or an online product. It's I want to be protected and so on. Well, the problem wasn't the fact that I was in the environment. The problem was that I didn't put the right security behind my login with Ignition. So someone got into my account and attempted to change the bank account. So I got a notification that, hey, your bank account has changed with Ignition. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't do that. So I immediately contacted Ignition and I said, okay, you put a hold on my account. I got a notification that my bank account changed. I'm like, I know I didn't. I have one bank account where all that money drops into, and I would not change it. I'm not changing it. So I got in touch with them. They're like, okay, we mitigated the problem. Don't worry. Brolin, why don't you put on 2FA? I'm like, but I don't wanna. I don't wanna get the code anymore. I don't want the codes. Dawn just wants to open up her computer and have everything just work. And I don't even want to do passwords anymore. Like, just like, ah. And they're like, turn your 2FA on. And every time now that my 2FA is on, every time it asks me for the code, I'm thankful.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it's not like I wouldn't have gotten my money back. Likely, maybe. I don't know if I would have gotten my money back. I mean, when you're bringing in $43,000 on the first of every month, you don't want that money going to somebody else. I can tell you that.
100%.
Like,
Yep.
so I was like, that really shook me because I'm like, that's my money. And that's what I got to, that's how I got to pay my people. And that's all these things. So it just was so interesting. And then, of course, I've become so much more regimented about how I proceed. So another really dumb example, Sam, is email. So
Mm.
I don't know if Microsoft has made this big change. Now, Microsoft Copilot all looks so different. I can't wait to spend some time in there because it's all new now. It just looks different. I had to add Outlook as one of my new like links and So for those of you who have an Microsoft Office account, 365, you've seen changes. And Sam, I'd love to hear if you know of this, and if you don't, it's okay. Over the last week or so, I now have to open up my Authenticator app or receive a code in order to get into my email every time.
Every time, or
Well,
every time from a
meaning,
new device or IP address and location?
right now, so it's so funny because this started last week. It
Okay.
started last week for me, and I don't know because you guys manage all that. So I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, they've made me do this now. And now but I always think of the ignition example. So I'm
Right.
thankful. Okay, cool. So it's like if I go home, I leave my office and I'm out of here and they come in the next morning, I got to do the authenticator code every time I start again, if you will.
Inside the environment, right? Because you work fully inside of the Visory
Yeah.
desktop.
Yeah, which is
Um,
it's just making me do it. But
yeah,
that's the whole point, Sam.
yeah. I mean, MFA is good.
It's the
It can be
minimum.
a pain in the butt. It can be a PETA, right?
Hmm.
But I'll share another example that another practitioner shared with me. Um, the story was about 2FA not being on the tax software. Somebody got in and changed the bank account numbers for clients' returns. Right? I mean,
That's
so
bad.
yeah, it's bad. Turn on 2FA everywhere.
Yeah, you got to have my tax software, 2FA every time I log in. And that is, and again, Sam, I think and we've talked about this before, that's really the minimum, right?
Right.
Like that's just bare bones. The basics that you can be proactively doing is to turn on 2FA. So my keeper, so when that happens, Sam, I have password keeper that holds all of my passwords.
Hmm.
Powerful accounting, designated motivator, Dawn Brolin, Kevin Brolin, like all things Brolin are in password keeper. And we ended up going in and turning on 2FA on password. I didn't have it. I just had the Face
Oh
ID
yeah.
on my phone.
Yep.
So now because Tracy and I share password keeper because she just handles everything for me. And now if she goes to, I know she's logging in now because she needs the code from me. And
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to I don't want to, but I do want to harp on that. And maybe these little tips, something that we're going to start doing is moving the codes to the main number. We use Ring Central. So the codes can go into Ring Central into the main number. So that way, if I have a staff member, I mean, I only have it's me and two people, but let's say Nicole leaves or something happens, I don't know, and I want to shut her off. I don't
Hmm.
want her to
Hmm.
continue getting codes to her personal cell phone number.
Right.
And if you're a growing organization, you got to think about that because you get a disgruntled employee and they want to go in and they're going to change all kinds of stuff in there just to mess with you, which happens, by the way, more
It
often than you
does.
think.
Hmm.
That's a way you can prevent or minimize the risk that a hostile takeover or whatever you want to call it
Those
can
insider
happen.
threats, right? That's an example of an insider threat. So we have to remember that not everything malicious that can happen is from outside. It can be from inside. So we do have to think about that kind of thing.
Yeah, we really do. So, okay, so thinking about that, right? So we're thinking about, can you catch the scam? And this is where I really love like what Visory does for us, because it's not just about it's so many things, but being able to get training. Can you catch what is a scam and what's not a scam, right, Sam?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, we use a platform that leverages AI to do that for you. So it takes real world examples of actual malicious emails. It cleans them up so that they're no longer malicious, and it adds them to the pool of simulated attacks that you're getting, that you and your team are getting.
Yeah, and so on in this example here, and I know one of the I'd say a little tip from someone who's not an expert like Sam, but when I get an email and it'll come in and it'll look like, oh, this is coming in from the Department of Revenue or something like that, and I'll look at it and I look at the signature, the after the at sign.
Hmm.
I focus first thing I do is I look at after the at sign. So if it's, I know it's DRS, ctdrs.gov, and if it's ct.drs.gov, I know there's a problem. So I definitely pay attention to who it's coming from. Some of them are ridiculous, or even this is another simple catch the scam, Sam. We get as practitioners, you're going to probably get emails from people who are potential clients,
Hmm.
and they'll say, "Hey, well, they'll it's they really are not good at the English part of it, but they'll say, I need taxes done 6 years. I heard you can help me, whatever." And it's like, yeah, you didn't come from anyone I know. And, it's like, oh, I talked to one of your clients or what they say, but it's very broken the way they say it. And
Hmm.
people, so that is Sam, that's an example of they're fishing for you to participate with them. So if I reply and say, yeah, I'll do your tax returns, they'll say, okay, here's a link to my Dropbox to get all of my documents. Now you have a
Right.
problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And remember, we used to be able to rely on that. We used to be able to rely on the prince of some obscure country is asking you to participate. With AI, we can't rely on that anymore. Things are getting much more sophisticated. The grammar's getting fixed. They're strategically plugging in tiny errors so that you think a human put together the email. But yeah, we can't always rely on the broken English being a part of the indicators.
No, you're right, because that's all changing, and AI will fix that sentence into something that looks more real.
Yep.
And so, that's another identifying how your referrals come to you. Sounds like a silly thing, but it's a problem. So how are you getting those referrals? Typically for us, it's we need to jump on a call. I'm not going to reply and go, yeah, we'll do your tax returns and whatever. There has to be a process. So as you're thinking through what you're doing on a daily basis, are you really paying attention to catch the scam before you get too deep? And that's where you end up running into trouble. So we know, Sam, we know that we have compliance that we already participate in with regards to deadlines, but now we have a bigger problem. There's compliance and IRS expectations that we actually have to attend to. This started, what was it, I don't remember, was it 2017? I don't remember when they first started it.
The Security 6, like all
Yeah.
of that, it hit my radar in 2021. I
Okay.
think that's when it really started to hit my radar. We were starting to hear a lot more about it, but it might be a little older than that.
Yeah. And so, we're sitting here going, okay, there's security. We know where the targets. We already talked about that. We know what we have. And your example of somebody logging with no 2FA on that tax system is mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that holds all the data between that and obviously other systems that you probably have within your tools and for me, playing field, my starting lineup of all the tools that I use. But in the example of Ignition was a great example of it wasn't them that made the issue. It was because I didn't take the steps that I need to make that they told me to make to put 2FA on because I'm lazy. So IRS says, no, we're not playing that game anymore. You have to get your stuff together. And if you just Google Tax Security 2.0, if you just put that out, you'll see the Taxes Security Together checklist. And it's going to talk about those things, Sam, like the 2FA, the Security 6 measures that we have to have,
Hmm. Hmm.
antivirus software, which is like, come on, man, are we really talking about that still? Like, where are you if you're not implementing that? Using a firewall, the 2FAs, backup software and services. We're going to talk more about that a little bit further because I find, and I do a lot of consulting with firms in helping them understand that how your network is set up is critical. Who is managing your setup is critical. Are they even qualified? And we'll kind of get into a little bit more of that. But that Tax Security 2.0 is a really great place to start if you're not even on it. But outdated systems, Sam, talk about outdated systems. Tell us a little more about that.
Yeah, you'll see this with clients too, especially if you have clients in manufacturing. They are classic for having these super old operating systems. But even inside your own firm, you should be looking at the operating systems that are being used. And this is actually a really timely conversation because Windows 10 will reach end of life in October of this year. So if you are still running Windows 10, it's time to upgrade to Windows 11. And it's a great opportunity as well to get onto those pro operating systems. So Windows 11 Pro is going to be even more critical. It's going to automatically guarantee that you can meet one of those IRS security sixes, which is the disk encryption. So you should definitely be patching your systems, or if you have an IT provider, you want to make sure that they have some sort of a patch schedule going on. Make sure that those laptops, those desktops are all staying up to date. And vendor security is also really, really important. I saw our friend Anne join the webinar today, and we're actually going to be sharing a story that she shared with us at Scaling New Heights this year. So yeah, vendor security can be another huge risk for you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because I think about how I approach my IT in the past, right? It's like, oh, I'm just going to get the family plan because it's like a tenth of the price of the pro plan.
Right.
Let me just
Yeah.
get the free version of this and that and whatever because I don't want to pay for it. And that's where we fall into trouble. And I tell people are like, Brolin, your tech stack's probably so expensive. And I go, is my security worth it? Is the processes that I have and the way I run my business more important than anything? Yeah. And so am I always picking the best in class solutions? Yes. You know why? I don't want to have an issue. We think about the phishing attacks and we've talked a little bit about it. For tax pros, we are the most vulnerable. So do you have like, I mean, this is just me, but do you have a server in your office and who's maintaining that server? And like you said, Sam, are you is your IT person saying what Sam just said? Hey, coming in October, we're going to need to make sure we're on 11, not 10. And if they're not reaching out to you and being proactive to make sure you're protected and they're, hey, Brolin, we're coming in to, check your server, or they do it remotely. I don't know how they do it. But I'm like, why are you taking those chances? Is your IT person certified? Meaning, do they really know what they're doing? Or are you paying $50 an hour for someone to maintain your server? We probably have a technical file right there, probably getting thrown out of the game. You're probably out of here. So, my whole thing with people is I want to get the best of breed to protect me from these things that I do not know of. This is not my area of expertise. And that's like you said, you want to bring people, vendors, people that are going to help you be secure. So you've got to find those best of breed. That's why I chose Visory. I'm like, listen, I need to have the best. I can't be dealing with this, not knowing that I'm protected. And so, knowing that Visory does the end device protection, you talked about those local computers. Like, I don't know how to deal with that. And I don't, I want to make sure my end devices are also protected when I'm in the airport. And I want to make sure
Mm.
my MacBook is protected. I should not be joining the airport free Wi-Fi. What are you doing? Just use your phone as a hotspot. Simple, proactive solution. If you can't afford unlimited data on your phone, you're not charging enough. Like you're not charging enough, right? And those are some of the things that we think about.
Yeah, that's a great point. I saw a stat recently that it was sort of a benchmark. So when people are just starting to think about cybersecurity and implementing strategies and protecting their firms, protecting their businesses, the stat that I saw said that you should look at your total IT spend. So what are you spending on software? What are you spending on your phone system and your email and just all of the technology spend that you have inside of your business? And you need to set 8 to 13% aside for security.
Yep, absolutely. And it's got to be top of mind. And so, we talked a little bit about the security 6 and the requirements, but Sam, if you just go a little bit more into detail for people who may not know exactly what the heck we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great foundation. It's a roadmap that the IRS put together for accounting practices. And remember that when you renew your PTIN, your PTIN every year, you are attesting that you've got your written information security plan in place as well, which is going to address all 6 of these things. So multi-factor authentication, I think we drove that one home. VPNs, the industry is kind of split on this one in particular. I think that as a minimum, you should definitely be using your phone as a hotspot. Don't join public Wi-Fi. Good, better, best in all things. A VPN can be great, especially one that has a cloud-based, software-based firewall, so you can assure that all of your traffic is going through an encrypted connection. Firewall in the office. If you have a physical brick and mortar location, you should absolutely have a firewall, and you should absolutely be managing your network so that you have a network for business and you have a guest network, and those two things are completely segregated. Because remember, you don't want anyone that's not affiliated with your business on your network, because it's like a gateway to all of your data. So you want to manage that network. So make sure that you're talking with whoever manages that for you. Antivirus, here we're talking more about proactive threat hunting than your traditional antivirus. We've been talking about this for years now. So remember that your old school antivirus was signature based. So it waited for the bad thing to happen and leave its signature. And then it would read the signature and say, oh, hey, Dawn, you're going to want to call someone because this bad thing happened. Now we're in an age where AI can look at the behaviors of the bad things that are happening and shut them down before they actually impact your business. So what we're talking about with antivirus is the next gen antivirus. It's proactive real-time threat hunting. If you're looking for examples, you're looking for things like CrowdStrike and Sentinel-1. Microsoft's Defender for Endpoint is another one of those threat hunting agents. So those are probably the top 3. And then backups. Not only do you need backups, you want to make sure that you're backing up your Office 365. Microsoft's not doing it for you. So if there's, you get ransomware and it impacts your email and your SharePoint, your OneDrive, you want to make sure that you can restore from a point prior to that breach. So you want to back up your Office 365 as well as all of your other client data. If you're using QBO, put a QBO backup on there. If you're not using Advanced, that's got it baked in. So you definitely want to have backups, and you want to periodically test those backups. So just try restoring once in a while and make sure that it works. Share a story with you. We had a client that 2020 came, COVID came, they seriously downsized. They took everything back in-house. About 2 years later, they called us and said, hey, can we talk to you? We had an issue. Do you have any of our backups? And I said, no, I'm sorry. Part of our SOC, our security policies, we have to delete all your data after you've been gone for 30 days. So we don't have anything. Their controller wiped their server on her way out the door. They hadn't
Wow.
tested any of their backups. Their most current good backup that they could recover from was 18 months old, and they were 2 weeks away from an audit.
Oh my Lord. Which brings us to this next slide, Sam, because I just got goosebumps from that story.
Yeah.
And that's where we were saying the insider threats, the internal
Yep.
threats that we do have. Listen, when it comes down to it and push comes to shove, people are going to take care of themselves. And we should know that. So we have to mitigate and minimize the risk that that kind of a, oh my Lord, situation could happen. Because like you said, the true cost of a breach, IRS audits, I mean, they're I believe the IRS is going to become more interested in how we're protecting client data than ever before. And people will say to me, and they say this to me all the time, oh, well, they just fired a bunch of agents. They're not going to have enough people. I'm like, they don't need people.
Nope.
We're talking about AI folks. We're talking about creating a way for them to monitor, which if you think that isn't going to happen, you've been sleeping for many years. But that's how they're going to do it, not by people, right?
Right. And we're moving into an age of agentic AI. So AI that can reason and make decisions and take actions autonomously. So yeah, when you talk about monitoring and when you talk about audits and things like that, you're right. They don't need tons and tons of staff.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And of course, when there is a breach, if there is a breach, and if you think you're exempt from a breach, you're also not thinking straight. We got a problem up in the coconut because client lawsuits. So if I get compromised, I have all these, first of all, you are shut down. You are following a procedure and a protocol. And if you don't have the right organization, you don't have the right company supporting you, again, for me, it's Visory, they're my first call. I have an issue, I'm calling them. It could be something that I did. I clicked on something, whatever. It's usually something that we've done. But that once that happens, who are you going to call? Ghostbusters? Remember that was a great movie. It was really long, really cheesy if you watch it back. But client lawsuits, who are you going to call? Right? And the cost associated with a breach and those kind of things. I mean, I feel very good about how we've approached security. So I don't have the level of concern that I used to have when I had an internal server and I just had the guy down the street coming in checking it every once in a while. I didn't know what I was doing. Your reputation, bye bye. Because the clients, you have to notify them, hey, I was compromised. All your data's over on the black web. I'm sorry. We'll pay for your, your whatever, your
You're monitoring.
you're
Yeah.
monitoring. Now I got to pay for that. And they're leaving me. They're
Right.
leaving me.
Right.
Your reputation damaged. And I know you have stories about that, Sam.
I do. I have so many stories. I mean, we could talk for hours on this. We had a financial a wealth manager that had an accounting leg of their business. They also had unlimited data in their cloud, and so they kept everything forever for all time, Dawn. And
Oh,
they had a
no.
breach before they joined us. They had a breach. That
Oh,
meant that they were going back to clients that had left them 10 plus years ago to say, hey, by the way, I'm really sorry about this and we'll pay for your monitoring. But your data was compromised. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's at risk. There's a lot that's at stake. We talked about the 60% of businesses that go under after a breach. If you're in the 40% and you survive, you are going to have reputational damage. How you respond to that incident in that moment will mean everything. So having that incident response plan, which the IRS maps out in their 2.0. So you're going to have a written information security plan that's going to address where your risk lives. So it's a great exercise to go through because this is where you start to say, here's where all of my data is, here's everyone that has access to it, and you get to start to make some decisions about whether or not all of that's appropriate. And then you get to identify all of the strategies that you have in place to mitigate as much risk as possible. Cybersecurity is never about the elimination of risk. It's about the acceptance of risk. And so it's deciding which risks are going to be okay to you because you can't eliminate it all. So your WISP is going to identify where your risk lives and define how you are protecting client data. But on the tail end of that, you're also going to have your incident response plan, and you're going to know who to call, when to call them, who needs to be identified, and how quickly. And all of that is mapped out. The IRS does a great job of defining that for you.
yeah, exactly. And so, if we talk about managed IT and why managed IT is the way to go, in my opinion, because we need somebody else to watch out for us. Thinking about the proactive maintenance and support, the phishing emails that you guys are, the education, which by the way, we are required to provide to our staff. They need to understand because, most people are remote now, Sam. So Nicole,
Yeah.
she lives near me, but she don't come in the office. She's not here. Tracy lives in Florida. I don't know what the heck they're doing. I don't know what their internet structure looks like. I don't know what plan they're on. I don't know if it's password protected. So I make sure that I give them the best of breed tools to ensure the safety of the data of our clients, right? So that's the kind of thing. This who are you going to call? Well, I'm going to call Visory. Not that I think that I'm going to have that, but if I have the need to, I know who needs to take the first step because of something either myself or one of my team members have done, because I don't know what those enhanced security measures need to be. Scalability, we just brought on, well, my tax partner just brought on a new staff member. Okay, guess what? Scalability, we got another person to add on. Okay, we just send over the information to you guys. You guys set that person up. They have the same, security that we all have. They're going to also get educated. They're going to learn about why it's important and how they should be acting. We don't have to do that. That's why we pay for it. And that's the way it should be. The advanced technology, Sam, for example, like the Microsoft going to 11 from 10. I don't need to worry about that because I know you guys are handling it. I don't need
Right.
to, I don't need to hope that my IT guy tells me. I already know that you guys are going to take care of it. The enhanced security measures, the backups, and the cost efficiency around paying for that managed IT service well exceeds the security of knowing that when I have a new staff member, that their laptop is protected and all the things that you guys do. That is a peace of mind that you can't pay enough for. And so, as we think about no excuses, right? I don't know if did you want to say anything about the managed IT? Is there anything more than what I said?
I think there's a lot of DIYers in the world. I build stuff at my place. I love to DIY. I will tell you that it is not always the most cost-effective way to go about it. And I think that all the things that we're talking about today fall into that category. Could you DIY it? Yes, probably. It's going to take you a long time. It's going to cost you a lot because a lot of these vendors that are best in breed have minimums. And if you're a small practice, then you might be paying for 25 seats when you only need two. So there's a lot to be said around the economy of scale that you gain by using a partner in this particular scenario.
Absolutely. And I just was working with a firm in May that has 9 employees, and they have currently a local server, and they're remodeling their entire place. And they're talking about how they need new computers and they need to do this and they need to do that. And I said, what you need is a managed IT service. Like, what are you doing over here? These people they won't be, and they're wonderful. They're such an amazing firm, and they're growing, and they want to learn, and they want to be secure, and they want to do things right, and they're committed to it financially and time wise. And I said, guys, you guys have to you're fully paper. You're a paper filled firm. You don't even have, like, they have to go to the office. I go, we got to change that. They're like, this one of the partners, she bought a camper, and she stays in this camper because she lives an hour and a half from the office. During tax season, she can't go home. This is destroying her life. So I said to them, hey, number one, we need to get you back into the real world, number one. So we need to get you paperless, which paperless is a very broad brush, but we need to get you paperless so you can work remotely. But I don't want to see you have a VPN. I want you to have a managed IT service so that as you grow and they want to strategically grow, you are protected with your growth, and your team will be educated about cybersecurity awareness training, those types of things. And they're like, yes, this is a no-brainer. You're talking, I'm just going to ballpark $250 a month for a seat. And you know what? It gives you everything you need. It manages everything you have to have. Any technical issues, it's taken care of. You don't need to do all of that. And so the forward-thinking firms are going to win when they think about making this a priority in their firm. And they're going to have much more success knowing that they are all, like, everything wrapped in a bundle for them. So obviously we've got a no excuses cybersecurity plan. You know why? Because there aren't any excuses. I'm handing you on a silver platter exactly what you need to do. You need to be communicating with your clients securely, not emailing W-2s, things like that. Sounds simple. Got to train the client, folks. 2FA, best password, best practices. We know you got to get that done. Data backup and recovery. I so appreciate that, Sam. I'm somebody who I want someone else to handle that for me, because if like when I was at this old firm, we would do a tape backup and one partner would take the
Oh
tape
yeah.
backup home every night. Oh, all that has to do is get wet in the kitchen. Like that's, not really a great system. So if you're doing that, that's not a great system.
Well, and
Your
the
vendor,
tapes happened once a week, maybe.
yeah,
So, right.
maybe.
So if something happened on Wednesday, then you're going back to Friday or maybe the Friday before that.
Yeah, and it's bad. That's a lot of work to be recovered. So, and I know we're up a little bit against the clock here, Sam, so I'm kind of pushing through a little bit of this.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, we've given you the best practices. Obviously, turning your cybersecurity into a business advantage, that's because you can tell your clients, I have a managed IT system. Individuals, businesses are becoming much more aware of these threats that we're talking about today. They're going to want to know, is my tax professional protecting my data? And they're going to ask the question. And what are you going to be able to say to them? Guess what? We are a preferred tax office because we have cybersecurity plans in place, we have managed IT, and we are proactively protecting your data. And I think that's super critical as we move forward. We talked a little bit about this earlier. I talked about this client who is becoming more into the real world, I guess I would say. And I also talked about the ignition example, but building that tech stack to be secure for you. And you can go to dawnbrolin.com and you can see my starting lineup and my tech stack and how I approach my technology very intentionally, Sam. I think that that's a really big word, is being intentional
Yep.
about how you're choosing your technology and who you're partnering with. Who is your hosted IT? Do you know them? Do you know what they are, their whole background and what they focus on? Is that all they're focusing on? Or are they trying to do other things, which is what we see a lot of companies doing? They get into this one area and then they branch off into this, they branch off into that. Visory is 100% around cybersecurity. And to me, that's a huge advantage for me as I'm making my decisions, right?
And
So
I would add that even if you're not looking at Visory, if you have somebody else, or you're in the evaluation process, selecting someone that has industry knowledge, so they know accounting, they know what the FTC is talking about, they know what the IRS is talking about, they know what the SEC did for wealth managers, and they can see where the IRS is going and can think 3 or 5 years ahead and get you future proofed. There's a lot of strength that comes from that.
yeah, absolutely. And I love this particular slide here is like how I think about my business. Like, how do I think about when I'm making that selection on and again, I don't need to sell Visory. Visory sells itself, but especially for those that are actually care about their business. But thinking about that secure workplace was really important to me because I have 100% remote employees. The next gen antivirus that Sam's talking about, the AI and how it's going to drive the future, whoever you're selecting, are they on that hunt? Are they looking for that real-time threat hunting? Critical. Remote monitoring, again, for me with remote people. People want to be remote, by the way. So if you're a firm who's making people go to the office, attracting talent may be difficult, but you better have the systems in place in order to be able to promote that and handle that. The rapid detection and response you were talking about, Sam, where it's finding the
Yep.
stuff before it happens and making it a secure place, even while they're trying to get to you, which is what they're doing. Obvious operating system patch and updates. I don't want to do that. I want I want that stuff done when I'm sleeping. So when I come into the office, I can just pick up and go. And that's something that I don't want to be responsible for, whether I'm a 3-person firm or a 50-person firm. As a partner, I'm not somebody who wants to manage any of that, but guess what? It is top of mind for me. I got to make sure it's being taken care of. And I love the awareness training. We had to go watch a video and do the things. And then, we're trying to pay attention to the email because you're testing us if we're clicking on things we shouldn't. Those are things I never even knew were possible. And so that's to me what I find to be most of the most important parts of what we're doing. But we don't have time for questions because we're out of time here. But you can LinkedIn, you can meet me, send me a question on LinkedIn. Obviously, you can reach out to Sam. And I've got like, hey, ready to play smarter here? Let's level up your data defense, right? Because you don't win championships, by the way. You don't become the most successful on offense. It's your defense that keeps them from scoring. And you've got to be prepared to have that defense, right? So certainly you can reach out to Visory. Don't let the hacker steal the win because your defense is terrible, right? Always think defense first. Inside sales at visory.net. You can certainly call them, visit their website, figure out, what they're all about, or just call me because I will tell you because I love how they protect me. Scaling new heights, we will all be there. It is the place to be. Booth number 95. Cannot wait. Cindy will be there. Nick will be there. Mandy will be there. Sam will be there. And I'll be around for sure to answer any questions. But if you really are serious about getting your systems together, today's your day to hit a home run and get yourself set up for success for the future. Sam, Nick, Cindy, of course, in the background. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here. Sam, safe travels, my friend.
Thanks a lot, Dawn. I
See you soon.
love doing these. Appreciate your time today.
All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.